Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a moment where everything in you screamed go, and yet you stayed frozen, where your heart said yes, but your body said no? You weren't lazy, you weren't weak. You were scared, but here's the twist no one told you. You weren't scared because something was wrong with you. You were scared because something was right with your brain. You see, your brain is hardwired to protect you, not to help you grow. It's not built for your dreams, it's built for your survival. And in the eyes of your ancient brain, anything new, anything unknown, anything outside the routine is a potential threat. So every time you try to break the cycle, whether it's applying for the job, saying how you really feel, waking up early, starting the business, your brain sounds the alarm. It says, this isn't safe, this is different, better stay still, and suddenly, you freeze, you overthink, you second guess, you procrastinate. But let's get one thing straight. You are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just running on an outdated operating system. And today, I'm going to show you how to override it. Because what you need is not more motivation, not more planning, not more self-help. What you need is to understand that your fear isn't truth, it's just a habit. Now let me tell you a quick story. There was a woman I once coached, brilliant, passionate, full of ideas. But every time she got close to launching her business, she'd stall. She'd rewrite her website for the 5th time. She'd tweak her logo again. She'd plan out social media posts she never scheduled. From the outside, it looked like perfectionism, but on the inside, it was fear. Fear disguised as productivity. She didn't need better strategy. She needed to see that her brain wasn't trying to ruin her chances. It was trying to protect her from judgment, from rejection, from stepping into the unknown. Because to the survival brain, certainty is always safer than success. Now maybe you're hearing this and thinking, yeah, that's me too. And you're right, because we all do it. We hesitate not because we're incapable, but because we've mistaken comfort for control. Here's where the breakthrough happens. Once you realize your brain is not your enemy, but your overprotective bodyguard, everything shifts. It's not fighting you. It's just doing its job too well. But guess what? You're the boss. And there's one tool that puts you back in charge, the 5-second rule. Here's how it works. The moment you feel hesitation, when your brain starts talking you out of the thing you know you need to do, count backward. Why does this work? Because it interrupts the fear loop. It shuts down the survival system just long enough for your prefrontal cortex, the logic, action-based part of your brain, to take control. It's not magic, it's mechanics, and it works. You're not going to feel brave. You're not going to feel ready, and that's okay. Courage is never a feeling. It's a decision, and sometimes it's a decision you make in 5 seconds. So the next time your body freezes, your mind spirals, your confidence evaporates, I want you to remember this. You are not the voice of fear in your head. You are the one who hears it, and you have the power to override it. Fear might still show up, but now you know the truth. It's not a red light. It's a green light in disguise. You just have to stop waiting for permission and start counting down. Now, before I leave you with that, let me say this. Every time you practice this, whether it's getting out of bed, speaking your mind, or chasing your dream, you're retraining your brain. You're teaching it that the world doesn't end when you take the risk. In fact, your life finally begins. You'll still feel afraid, but fear will no longer drive the car. You'll still overthink sometimes, but it won't stop you from moving, because now you know how to interrupt the loop. So don't wait for the perfect moment. It's not coming. The power is not in the plan. The power is in the start, and the start, it begins in 5 seconds. Let's go. Would you like the same speech turned into a video script with scene direction and music cues? Or a YouTube Shorts version with an 11-second voiceover? Let me give you the truth up front. If you don't learn how to hijack your brain, it will hijack you. And it won't do it with chaos or alarms, it will do it quietly, subtly, repeatedly. It will steal your decisions while you're still thinking about them. Let me ask you this: how many times have you known exactly what you needed to do, but didn't do it? You didn't make the call, you didn't get out of bed, you didn't speak up in the meeting, you didn't say what you truly felt. It's not because you didn't care. It's because in the 5 seconds between impulse and action, your brain talked you out of it. Now, here's what you need to understand. The brain is not designed to make you happy. It's designed to keep you safe, and the fastest way it does, that is by creating hesitation. That hesitation, it feels like logic. It sounds like protection, but it's fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of discomfort, and the longer you wait, the louder fear gets. But here's the incredible news. There's a small window between thought and action, just 5 seconds, where you still have the power. If you can act within that window, you beat the system. You override the autopilot that's been running your life. This is the 5-second rule. You simply count backward, you walk. You launch, you act. Why does this work? Because it disrupts the default settings of your brain. When you count down instead of up, your mind focuses. It interrupts the habit loop and engages your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision making, logic, and action. It doesn't matter if you feel ready. You won't. It doesn't matter if you feel confident. That comes after the action, not before it. I want you to remember something deeply personal here. Every moment you hesitate, you are building the habit of fear. But every time you act within 5 seconds, you're building the habit of courage. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a man standing on the edge of opportunity. Let's say it's a conversation he's afraid to have. He knows it could change everything. He knows what he wants to say, but his body freezes. In that pause, in those silent, invisible 5 seconds, his brain floods him with doubt. What if they laugh? What if you screw it up? What if they say no? And without even realizing it, he turns away. The moment passes, opportunity lost. Now imagine the same moment, but this time he counts. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. He doesn't overthink, he just moves, and with that one action, he changes the outcome. The conversation happens. The energy shifts, doors open, life responds. That's the power of 5 seconds. Now, maybe you're thinking, this sounds too simple to work. And you're right, it is simple, but don't confuse simplicity with weakness. Simple things, done consistently, have the power to rebuild your entire identity, because this isn't about motivation. It's about mechanism. Motivation comes and goes, but mechanisms, they stick. They cut through resistance. They give you a way to move even when you don't feel like it. Think about how much of your life you've spent waiting to feel ready. But what if ready was never coming? What if action is what creates readiness? You don't wait to be fearless. You act and the fear dissolves behind you. You don't wait for clarity. You move and clarity meets you halfway. You don't wait for courage. You build courage with every single countdown you commit to. So here's the challenge. The next time your brain tries to hijack you, when it whispers, maybe later, or let's play it safe, I want you to recognize that voice. It's not truth. It's not fact. It's just a default. It's just noise. You don't owe it your attention. Instead, count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move. Move in the direction of the life you actually want, not the one you've been settling for. Your brain may be wired for safety, but your soul is wired for expansion, for change, for momentum, and it's begging you to stop thinking and start living. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it 5 seconds at a time. Overthinking is not intelligence. It's fear wearing a very convincing disguise. We live in a world that worships thought. We praise deep analysis. We tell ourselves that the more we think it through, the smarter we are, but here's what's really happening. That long mental spiral you call planning, that constant replay of conversations in your head, that loop that says, what if it goes wrong? Over and over again, that's not logic. That's not preparation. That's fear playing dress up, and it's robbing you. It's robbing you of time, of confidence, of momentum, of life. Let's be honest, how many dreams have you talked yourself out of in your own head before you even got started? You told yourself you weren't ready, that you needed more research, that you'd start once you had more clarity. Sound familiar? Let me tell you the truth. Clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. You don't get certainty first and then take action. You take action and then certainty follows. See, the mind is brilliant at doing one thing, protecting you from perceived pain. But when it's left unchecked, it will turn every decision into a risk. Every opportunity into a threat, every moment of change into a warning siren. That's overthinking. It feels smart, it feels careful, but it's just fear whispering, stay small, stay safe, stay still. Let me give you a real life example. A young woman I once met had an offer to move across the country for her dream job. She was excited, the kind of opportunity she'd been praying for, but instead of celebrating, she froze. She began to think, what if I hate it? What if I fail? What if I'm lonely? What if I can't find an apartment? What if I'm making the biggest mistake of my life? She thought she was being responsible, but what she was really doing was building a prison out of what-ifs, and that prison had one guard, fear. Now let's stop here and make something very clear. There's nothing wrong with fear. Fear is human, but when fear pretends to be logic, that's when it becomes toxic. Because it convinces you that staying still is the smart choice, that waiting is wisdom, that not trying is being strategic. But the truth, you're not thinking, you're hiding, you're not strategizing, you're stalling, you're not being cautious, you're being held captive by a voice that sounds like reason, but is really just anxiety echoing in your mind. Now you might be thinking, but what if my thoughts are right? What if they are? You might fail, you might struggle, you might feel uncomfortable, but here's what overthinking never shows you. You also might grow. You might thrive. You might find out you're stronger than you ever imagined. You might build a life so extraordinary that your old thoughts wouldn't even recognize you. But none of that happens unless you move. So, how do you stop overthinking? You override it. Not with more thought, but with action. You need a cutoff point, a limit to the loop. That's where the 5-second rule comes in. That's where you count backward 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and do the thing anyway. You step forward, you hit publish, you say yes, you say no, not because you've solved every possibility in your head, but because you refuse to be manipulated by fear that's pretending to be caution. Here's what I want you to remember. Your brain is a master storyteller. It will create the most vivid, convincing narrative about why now is not the right time, why this isn't the right move, why you should wait. But just because it's vivid doesn't mean it's true. Fear always sounds like wisdom until you act in spite of it and realize it had no power at all. Overthinking, it's just fear that learned how to speak well. And once you see it for what it is, you take the power back. So here's what I want you to do next time you feel yourself spinning. Don't try to silence the thoughts. Don't argue with them. Interrupt them. Interrupt the pattern, count down, move, let the motion break the loop. Let the action build your confidence. Let your courage grow from behavior, not belief, and then repeat. Every time you choose action over paralysis, you build a new identity. One thought at a time, one movement at a time, one brave second at a time. So don't wait for the day when your brain stops overthinking. That day isn't coming. What is coming is the moment you decide to move anyway, to act while afraid, to interrupt fear mid-sentence and say, "Thanks, but I've got this. And now go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it." Would you like a visual storyboard or a full YouTube video script with cuts and on-screen prompts based on this keynote? You said, generate sophisticated 800 words speech on forced keynote with audience engaging words which make them stay till end. You build courage by walking straight into the fire with your knees shaking, your heart racing, and your voice trembling and doing the damn thing anyway. Now pause for a second and really sit with that, because too many people, smart, driven, capable people, are still stuck in neutral, waiting to feel ready. You know how I know, because I was one of them. There was a time in my life when I thought courage looked like strength. I thought it sounded like a battle cry. I thought it showed up clean, loud, and polished. But here's what I've learned. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, "Try again," at 6 a.m. Sometimes it's a quiet yes when fear begs you to say no. Sometimes it's just one step, a shaky one, but a step nonetheless. See, fear is not the enemy. Fear is the signal. It's the flashing red light that tells you you're on the edge of something that matters. If it didn't scare you, it wouldn't change you. Now I want you to take a second and think about what fear has cost you. What conversations didn't you have? What passions didn't you pursue? What life did you not live all because you mistook fear for a stop sign? It's not a stop sign. It's a green light in disguise. And if you've been waiting for fear to leave before you begin, I have to tell you it won't. Fear doesn't vanish before action. It vanishes during it. Let's break this down neurologically, because this isn't just emotional fluff. It's backed by science. The part of your brain responsible for fear is your amygdala. It's ancient. It's designed to keep you safe. When you even think about doing something new, your brain registers it as a potential threat. It sounds the alarm. This is risky. This could go wrong. Better stay where we are. But the moment you interrupt that response and move even just a little, you shift activation to your prefrontal cortex, the decision-making, action-oriented part of your brain. You quiet the alarm by overriding it. And the fastest way to override fear, action, and sometimes the bridge between fear and movement, is as short as 5 seconds. That's where the 5-second rule becomes your power tool. When your instincts tell you to act, count backward 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move before your brain talks you out of it. Because the truth is, your brain will come up with 100 reasons not to act, and every single one of them will sound like logic. But they're not. They're protection, overprotection in disguise. Here's what you need to remember. Courage doesn't wait for the fear to go away. It puts fear in the back seat, buckles it in, and drives forward anyway. It says, "You can ride with me, but you don't get to steer." Let me tell you about a client. I once coached a woman in her late 30s who had been sitting on the idea of launching her own podcast for 3 years. 3 years of writing outlines, 3 years of buying equipment she never used, 3 years of listening to the voice in her head that said, "You're not ready, you'll embarrass yourself, you're not qualified." And one day, after we talked, she did something radical. She didn't think about it anymore. She didn't strategize. She didn't wait for confidence. She counted. She posted the first episode. Was it perfect? No. Did fear vanish? Absolutely not. But here's what changed: she moved anyway. Now she has over 200,000 downloads and gets messages every week from people whose lives were changed by her voice. And it all started not with a plan, but with a choice to move with fear, not away from it. So now it's your turn. What dream have you let fear keep in a cage? What goal are you still waiting to feel ready for? What version of you is dying to be born? If only you'd move before your mind talks you out of it. Because here's what I know. You don't need more time. You don't need more information. You need movement. The kind that says, I'm scared but I'm going anyway. The kind that says, I don't feel confident but I'm still showing up. The kind that rewires your brain through behavior, not belief. That's courage. That's how you build a life you're proud of. And that starts right now. So whatever it is, the call, the post, the leap, do it now. Would you like the 5th keynote speech next, or want this one turned into a video script with visual scene prompts and audio cues for your YouTube content? Your life is not going to change in a single day. There's no moment where everything magically shifts, no morning where you wake up transformed, no sudden wave of motivation that fixes it all. But there is something that can change in an instant, your direction. And sometimes that shift doesn't take a miracle, it takes 5 seconds. I want you to hear this and really hear it. You are always one decision away from a different outcome, one moment away from stepping left instead of right, one moment away from speaking instead of staying silent, one moment away from moving forward instead of pulling back. But here's the problem, most people don't recognize those moments when they happen. Why? Because they're tiny, they're quiet. They don't feel like turning points, they feel like hesitation. They feel like, should I get up or hit snooze? Should I speak up or stay quiet? Should I say yes or keep waiting? Those micro moments, they're everything, and what you choose in them creates your entire trajectory. You see, change isn't built in big, dramatic events. It's built in the invisible seconds where you either act or delay, where you either lean in or hold back. Let me give you an example. There was a man who was stuck. He hated his job, felt disconnected in his relationship, hadn't worked out in years. But every day he told himself the same lie. I'll change when I'm ready. I'll start when it's the right time. I'll act when I feel more confident. And then one morning, sitting in his car outside the gym again, debating whether to go in, he heard something simple. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to move. So he counted. That's it. He didn't overthink it. He didn't negotiate with himself. He just moved. And that one action, that one moment of changing direction led to another, and another. 3 years later, he's healthy, fulfilled, leading a team, and living in a city he once thought was out of reach. Not because he changed his life overnight, but because he stopped waiting to feel ready and started acting on micro decisions. You need to understand something powerful here. Your life does not shift because of intention. It shifts because of interruption. You have to interrupt the habit of hesitation. And the simplest tool to do that, the 5-second rule. The moment you feel that urge to move, that instinct to do something different, you count backward. Why does it work? Because it cuts through the noise, because it stops your brain from flooding you with excuses, because it engages the part of your mind that takes action, not the part that fears change. And you don't need to do everything. You just need to do one thing, right now, today, because direction is more powerful than speed. Let me say that again. Direction is more powerful than speed. You don't have to sprint into your future. You just have to stop walking in the wrong direction, and sometimes that shift happens in 5 seconds flat. Now, I want you to think about your own life. What have you been meaning to do? What decision have you been putting off, waiting for a sign, a feeling, a perfect moment? Let me give you the sign. This is it. This is your moment, and you're going to miss it if you wait. Success doesn't happen when you feel fearless. It happens when you stop negotiating with fear. When you say, I hear you, but I'm still moving. Because the truth is, every break through your praying for is hidden inside a decision you're avoiding. And the only way to access it is to act before your brain talks you out of it. That's the muscle. That's the pattern to build. That's the habit that will shift everything. Not big dramatic moves, not grand declarations, just consistent micro decisions, one after another, all made in 5-second windows that seem insignificant but change your life silently behind the scenes. So here's your challenge. Next time you feel resistance in the form of fear, doubt, or delay, don't wait for clarity. Don't ask for another sign. Don't sit in the spin of overthinking. Just count down. And take the first step, because in that moment, you're not just moving your body, you're telling your mind who's in charge. You're proving to yourself that change doesn't happen in a year, it happens now. And the rest of your life, it shifts in the direction you choose, one brave decision at a time. So don't try to change your whole life today. Just change your direction, and the next time that hesitation creeps in, you know what to do. Would you like this transformed into a motivational video script with scene direction? Or should I proceed with Keynote 6's full speech as well? Most people think success requires major change. They believe you have to overhaul your life, break everything down, and rebuild from scratch. But the truth is, life doesn't change when you do everything at once. Life changes when you change how you do the little things consistently, because all big transformations start in the tiniest of moments. In the pause before you speak up, in the breath before you walk into the interview, in the silence before you hit send, in the hesitation before you decide to say yes or no. And those moments, they all last about 5 seconds. Now let me show you how this works, not in theory, but in the real world. Let's start with career. So many people stay stuck in jobs they've outgrown. They feel unfulfilled, underappreciated, invisible. But instead of making a move, they think and think and think. They scroll job boards but don't apply. They rehearse conversations with their boss but never have them. They think it's not the right time. But the truth, it's never the right time. There's never a day where fear leaves and clarity arrives. There is only the moment you count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and act. Apply anyway, ask anyway, speak up anyway. You don't get a new life from safety. You get it from movement. Now let's talk about confidence. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's not a personality trait. It's a skill, and like any skill, it's built through repetition under pressure. The first time you do something, speak on stage, post online, try something new, you'll feel fear. But when you push through it, when you act anyway, you're teaching your brain that you can survive discomfort. The more you act, the stronger your confidence becomes, and the 5-second rule gives you the bridge between fear and movement. It says, I know you don't feel ready, but you don't need to. Just go. That's how confidence is born. Now what about relationships? This might be where the rule is most powerful. Think about how many things go unsaid, how many feelings stay bottled up, how many apologies we never make, how many boundaries we never set. Not because we don't care, but because fear steps in. Fear of judgment, fear of being vulnerable, fear of rejection. But in those exact moments, when your heart knows what to say, and your brain tries to silence it, that is when you count. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, speak. Say what's on your mind. Say what's in your heart. Say no when it matters. Say yes when it counts. Because healthy relationships aren't built on silence. They're built on truth. And sometimes truth takes courage with a countdown. Now let's bring it home. Habits, whether it's waking up early, hitting the gym, quitting sugar, starting meditation, reading more, or putting down your phone. The hardest part is always the start. You know what to do. You've read the books, watched the videos, made the plans. But when the alarm goes off, when the urge hits, the hesitation kicks in, and here comes your brain. You're tired. You deserve a break. You can start tomorrow. That's the exact moment the old you makes the decision. But what if, instead of letting the old voice speak, you counted louder, get up, change clothes, put on your shoes, close the app, pick up the book. Break the loop, because habits aren't built from motivation. They're built from interruptions, from the micro moment where you stop the excuse and step into action. And the beautiful thing, every time you do this, you're reprogramming your brain. You're teaching it a new story, one where you are in control, one where you don't need to feel ready, one where you build momentum with every tiny decision made in 5 seconds or less. So let's be real. You don't need more time. You don't need more self-help. You need a system that cuts through the noise of your fear. And this is it. The 5-second rule is not a trick. It's not a gimmick. It's a tool, a bridge, a pattern breaker, a lifeline, and it works anywhere because fear shows up everywhere. You can't outrun fear, but you can outsmart it. You can override it. You can count it down and leave it behind. So here's what I want you to do. Today, not tomorrow, pick one area: career, confidence, relationships, or habits. And the next time fear steps up to the microphone in your mind, you interrupt it. Don't negotiate. Don't explain. Just count, because sometimes the life you want isn't waiting down the road. It's waiting 5 seconds from now.